Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Monday, December 15th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. With just over 2 weeks to go until he takes office, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is expected to announce some top officials as soon as this week. This news comes as the incoming first deputy mayor gave a glimpse into the incoming administration's fiscal priorities. Our Kelly Mena joins me now with tonight's top story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. We're learning as of today that the mayor-elect is ready to make some key fiscal appointments this week. That news coming as the mayor-elect looks to fund his priorities in the coming year.
You're going to get appointments. Okay. We're starting strong.
It's been more than a month since Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has made any key appointments. But this week, incoming First Deputy Mayor Dean Fuleihan says that's going to change. Sources tell New York One Sharif Solomon is expected to be named the director of the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget. Solomon was previously the commissioner of the Department of Finance under Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Part of this, and you're going to reflect it, I have no doubt, in additional questions, is building a team. It's building a team that addresses the priorities of the city and that can work well together and that reflects New York City.
Fuleihan made the comments at a breakfast hosted by the fiscal watchdog group Citizens Budget Commission, where he addressed the financial future of the incoming administration. Without providing exact numbers, Fuleihan said,
I think if you listen to the mayor-elect, there's a very aggressive agenda of affordability. You know what that is. That's one of the things we're going to achieve. But there's also day-to-day operational issues.
Fuleihan also said the administration remains committed to universal child care, free and fast buses, as well as freezing the rent for New Yorkers living in stabilized apartments.
We're still pursuing and will pursue the rent freeze. It's the appropriate action. But we need to also, where those landlords are struggling, how do we address their needs? And we believe we will be able to.
That's the view from the top, but it's everyday New Yorkers that want to be heard.
How great is it that he wants to spend one-on-one time with New Yorkers?
Mamdani met with hundreds of New Yorkers on Sunday as part of a so-called listening session in which they were able to share their concerns directly with the soon-to-be mayor. New York One spoke to a handful of attendees who said they brought up issues like mental health, pedestrian safety, and deed theft.
He made eye contact, he took notes, and he was very interested and locked in to the issues.
I'm very disillusioned by politics, so this didn't change my disillusion. I respect what he's doing and how he's doing it, so I really hope that he will deliver.
And there's only 17 days left until Zohran Mamdani officially becomes the city's mayor, Errol.
Not to caricature them, but I associate the Citizens Budget Commission with two proposals that are the answer to almost every question, which is create a bigger reserve fund and cut spending. How did that conversation go with Dean Fuleihan?
You know, he's aware that there is a $5 billion budget gap that is facing the city, and that's going to be their #1 challenge is how do they close that, and funding priorities. He mentioned in broad strokes how they're planning to do that. They believe that the procurement process, there might be some efficiencies there that they could use for funding their priorities. We know that it's not a low price tag that they're coming into City Hall with when you're presenting these plans to freeze rent, universal child care. There's a very high price tag there, and he did say that they're looking to raise revenues. That's the big question. How do they do that, and how do they get buy-in from their local and state partners to do that? So he mentioned that they didn't present a preliminary budget number nor an executive budget number, but he said he would be back so that they can go through it.
And I imagine it sounds like he continued his confident tone when it comes to meeting some of these central promises of the campaign.
Definitely. And, you know, he came in today mentioning something that was interesting, that even a month ago, many people thought that these central promises were not deliverables. They're not realistic. But now, with only weeks left until the administration takes office, he believes that they are doable, and they're getting more partners to join them. Not just people that supported Mamdani's campaign initially, but from the business community, from the civic community. You know, I was talking to some people that were in attendance, and they liked what they heard. It wasn't a lot of details, not a lot of nitty-gritty information, but they feel like the things that Dean and the administration want to get done are doable, and that he answered to the best of his abilities.
Okay, thanks very much, Kelly. Also tonight, casinos are officially coming to New York City. A state commission put the final seal of approval on casino projects in 3 of the projects that had applied for them. That's a highly anticipated vote that was years in the making. Our Courtney Gross has been following this every step of the way and has the story this evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Errol. For many years, we've been watching this. Initially, there were about a dozen applicants who wanted to get a gaming license, but after years of community involvement and deliberation, only 3 got the license today, meaning that New York is betting big on casinos.
They've rolled the dice and placed their bets on the promise of casinos in New York City.
To all 3 who have been granted this conditional license, congratulations on behalf of the state of New York.
The State Gaming Commission approved the licensing of 3 casinos in the 5 boroughs: Bally's in the Bronx, Hard Rock Metropolitan Park in Queens next to Citi Field, and Resorts World, also in Queens, which already operates video lottery terminals or slot machines.
For us, it's all about creating the jobs. There are a real pathway to the middle class for thousands of people, and that's what really this is all about.
The licensing is the final step in a years-long process where the biggest companies in gaming and real estate competed for 3 gaming licenses issued by the state. In the end, only 3 made it through this extensive community approval process and will end up being in close proximity to each other in the Bronx and Queens, a concern some officials have dismissed.
Both of these locations in Queens, where there's really nothing else really there, there's really nowhere to go but up.
In the end, it's about the money.
How about some hold'em? Come on, I want you to sit and play at my table for a while.
Tax revenue, that is. The projects are expected to bring in billions in tax revenue. And combined, these 3 projects will pay $1.6 billion in license fees just to start, which will go straight to the MTA. The projects have promised major local community benefits for the neighborhoods that they are in, like a Queens food hall in Metropolitan Park, to a media, sports, and education center from Resorts World. To make sure those projects actually follow through on those promises, the commission is requiring each project hire an independent monitor, an appointment the commission will approve for 5 years.
All of the applications had issues. We felt as a commission that the best way to handle that was to appoint a monitor that will assure New Yorkers that every one of those casinos is going to be in strict accordance with our laws and regulations.
And in some cases, some of those concerns were about financing, whether or not some of these companies were going to be able to get the money together. In other cases, the concerns were about whether they were over-promising. So, Errol, with this monitorship that they're setting up, with each casino will have a monitor for the first 5 years, they're hoping that they're going to be able to make sure that they deliver on those promises. And the monitor will have to issue quarterly reports, and they expect to report back to the Gaming Commission. And if for some reason one of these applicants doesn't deliver, then they could perhaps lose their license.
Well, what are the kind of deliverables that would require a monitor?
So, for instance, they said, and let's say take Cohen's project, for instance. They want to build this Queens food hall. The Queens food hall was a promise to the community, but it was not put in their application paperwork. So the commission is saying, well, you promised this to the community, so you have to deliver the Queens food hall. You can't just build your casino and hotel and the number 7 train. That would be another thing they want to make sure that they do. So that would be one example. There's other examples, let's say, for Bally's, for instance, they were pretty concerned about the financing of the project. That might not be that much of a concern to the community, but they want to make sure that if we give you this license, that you can actually deliver the project and that you're not going to be over-leveraged in some way.
Okay, thanks very much, Courtney. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, a mobile mental health center is coming to Harlem. It will provide free one-on-one mental health care for anybody in need. We'll tell you all about it next. Later on tonight, a handful of senior officials tapped by outgoing Mayor Adams wants to keep their jobs. That includes the school's chancellor, Melissa Aviles Ramos, will join me to talk about her experience leading the nation's largest school system. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math. Will this be on the test?
Sure, why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. We've done at the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. After providing New Yorkers with free therapy sessions for nearly a decade, the Hope Center in Harlem is now expanding its reach, bringing care to New Yorkers in need exactly where they are. Our Ayanna Harry has taken a look at the center's efforts to increase access to urgently needed care, and she's here to tell us all about it. Good evening.
Good evening, Errol. The doors of the Hope Center opened 9 years ago today, and since then they have provided free mental health care to 1,722 New Yorkers. Thanks to a new grant, they're hoping to deepen that impact.
It has been my personal goal to get the word out that you don't have to suffer in silence.
Inside the Hope Center on Harlem's West 116th Street.
Everyone is welcome.
And here, healing happens on purpose.
We are a free community-based mental health clinic.
There are psychiatry residents who are based at Mount Sinai who provide psychiatric assessments, medication management, and therapy, all at no cost.
For 9 years, the Hope Center has been focused on meeting urgent mental health needs in Harlem, providing private one-on-one therapy sessions for anyone who walks through the door. They've been working to lift both the barriers and the stigma often associated with going to therapy.
For many people, the thought of seeking mental health care is wrought with feelings of shame, of guilt, and secrecy.
For Harlem native and executive director Dr. Lena Green, the work is personal.
This was a community that was ravaged by substance use, by poverty in the 80s when I was growing up, and that led me to, pursue a professional career in mental health.
The Hope Center was the vision of First Corinthian Baptist Church senior pastor Michael Warren. And now the center's reach stretches beyond free therapy sessions to include community outreach. And that outreach is evolving. New York One was there Monday afternoon as the Hope Center received a $540,000 grant from the Manhattan Borough President's Office to build a new mobile mental health services unit.
I think what they've quickly learned is while there's some people who will come in to you and proactively seek out help, there are many, many more people out there who are suffering and aren't quite ready to come into an official professional facility like this.
To have a mobile mental health van is really novel and really innovative.
Being able to get out into the community speaks volumes.
Plans for the Mobile Mental Health Services unit include a waiting area and 3 offices. And each day the unit is out in the neighborhood, the Hope Center will publicly share the van's location, taking free mental health care to the streets. Dr. Sydney Hankerson is the Hope Center's medical director and vice chair of Mount Sinai Psychiatry Department.
My hope is that this mobile clinic will be replicated and expanded across all 5 boroughs, especially the boroughs that we know are most beset with mental health disparities.
With this new mobile mental health van, the Hope Center, they're not looking to become first responders responding to crises. This is really more about them providing resources to people in their neighborhoods directly where they are in case they may feel a little bit hesitant to go into the Hope Center's offices on 116th Street. And this is all run by a nonprofit, so they are continuing to fundraise and continuing to apply for grants to make sure that this mental health van is funded for years to come, Errol.
So it sounds like with a mobile van, they believe they can do a certain amount of good in just a few minutes if people walk in off the street.
Yes, and this is really just a first touch point for many people. They know that they're not going to be able to solve a whole host of problems or issues that a person may have, but this is perhaps getting to connect with them, signing them up for services, so getting them into some therapy sessions within the Hope Center. And if they don't feel comfortable coming to the Hope Center, there are also options to do some therapy virtually. So basically connecting with people where they are, saying, hey, we know you may need help, you might be struggling. And they also have a large emphasis, and they want to connect more with youth, young people in Harlem, and in particular, they want to use sports to do that as well.
Yeah, it sounds like the idea to remove the stigma is just to kind of be there, so they just kind of become part of the background.
That's exactly what they want to do. They find that so many people, you know, they may feel hesitant walking into these doors because folks kind of know, oh, that's the place where you go to get therapy, and you don't want to be seen going in there. So they're looking for creative ways just to reach people to help them get the help that they need.
Yeah, no, great idea. You twist your ankle, you go to the urgent care.
Yeah.
If you twist your, your brain a little bit, you walk into the other place.
Yeah, and they're saying the doors are open, and it's free.
Right. Thanks very much, Ayanna. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, the Trump administration says that the state improperly issued commercial driver's license to non-citizens. And now they're threatening to withhold federal dollars unless those licenses are revoked by the state of New York. We'll tell you all about it in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm
I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. The Trump administration is ordering New York to revoke commercial driver's licenses that it says were improperly issued to non-citizens or risk losing millions of dollars in highway aid. The administration says that a recent audit found that more than half of 200 state licenses held by non-citizens were issued illegally. Washington, D.C. reporter Shannon Ryan joins me now with a closer look. Good evening, Shannon.
Hey there, Errol. Well, right now, New York State officials, they are fully disputing the administration's claims. A State Department and Motor Vehicles spokesperson tells me he believes U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is, quote, lying about the matter. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy laying out a lofty ultimatum for the state of New York.
If New York refuses to come into compliance, because Kathy Hochul, for some reason, believes that we should have unqualified truck drivers on American roadways, we are going to pull tens of millions of dollars as phase one for the state of New York.
The call to, quote, come into compliance follows the federal government auditing 200 trucking licenses issued by New York State to non-citizens. It claims more than 100 were issued illegally.
Now, what New York does is, if an applicant comes in and they have a work authorization for 30 days, 60 days, 1 year, New York automatically issues them an 8-year commercial driver's license. That's contrary to the law. That's one offense. But we also found that New York many times won't even verify whether they have a work authorization, they have a visa, or they're in the country legally.
DMV spokesperson Walter McClure accusing the DOT secretary of lying, writing that commercial driver's licenses are regulated by the federal government, and New York State DMV has and will continue to comply with federal rules. The Trump administration has been focusing its attention on trucking licenses issued to non-citizens after a crash in Florida involving an undocumented immigrant killed 3 people.
We've unfortunately seen many vehicle accidents across the country where people have lost their lives because of drivers that were just simply unqualified to be driving these trucks.
No, Errol, the Trump administration is giving the state 30 days to formally respond. That started last Friday. If not, they'll lose $73 million in federal aid.
On that point about pulling millions of dollars in aid, is it legal for the federal government to do that? And are state officials considering going to court to force that question?
Errol, those are all questions that I have asked, but for now, officials will only say that they're reviewing the U.S. DOT's letter and will, quote, respond accordingly.
Okay, thanks very much, Shannon. Also tonight, the deadly shooting at Brown University over the weekend was the latest of nearly 400 mass shootings that have occurred in the United States this year alone. By comparison, Sunday's mass shooting in Australia was the first in that country in several years and one of only a handful in 2 decades. In Australia, political leaders are already pledging to take up meaningful gun safety reforms. But here in our country, the prospects for similar action appear remote. Spectrum News national political reporter Taylor Popolars has more in this report.
President Donald Trump said this Sunday after a mass shooting on the campus of Brown University in Rhode Island.
Things can happen, so to the 9 injured, get well fast, and to the families of those 2 that are no longer with us, I pay my deepest regards and respects from the United States of America.
According to the Gun Violence Archive, the U.S. this year has experienced 392 mass shootings, defined as when 4 or more people are shot or killed, not including the shooter. There were 503 in 2024 and 659 in 2023.
In any nation that tolerates this kind of violence year after year, decade after decade, in random places on our college and school campuses without doing all that we can to stop it, is broken and in need of moral repair.
The reaction to the latest shooting fits a pattern. Democrats called for changing gun laws, and Republicans said it's too early to know what changes to make.
There is the also shooting we just occurred in Australia, in which there are gun control laws, and yet this still occurred.
Sunday's mass shooting in Australia targeted a Hanukkah celebration. The Prime Minister called it an act of anti-Semitism and terrorism. Australia has had significant gun restrictions since the 1990s. This was just the 6th mass shooting there in 2 decades.
But that doesn't mean that they're not beyond improvement, and we're not beyond ensuring that people don't have more guns than they absolutely need.
They need to change, and they can change. It does require legislation.
Here in the U.S., the only major gun safety law in more than 20 years was enacted in 2022 after the Uvalde school shooting in Texas. Over the weekend, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut mentioned the law's passage while marking the 13th anniversary of the shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School.
Our cause is so righteous that if we do the work, there will be more and more moments like that summer in 2022.
There is no indication from the Republican-led Congress or President Trump that further gun safety regulations will be considered. Notably, the president quickly imposed new immigration restrictions after an Afghan national was charged with shooting 2 National Guard members right before Thanksgiving. Reporting in Washington, Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
It is time for a break. Coming up, Schools Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos will join me in studio. We will talk about Mayor-elect Mamdani's education agenda, as well as her potentially staying on under the new administration. Stay with us.
My time at New York One has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Bergman.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. This week, Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani is expected to make a handful of appointments to his incoming administration. While his transition team is still assessing candidates for some of the top positions, they're also considering keeping on current senior officials who were tapped by Mayor Adams. That includes my next guest. Melissa Aviles Ramos wants to keep her job leading the nation's largest public school system. Who wouldn't want that job? She took over as schools chancellor at the beginning of this year and has an extensive background in education. taking on many roles from superintendent to principal, and was in fact a teacher as well. Schools Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos joins us now to talk about all of this. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
Thank you. Great to see you.
So my understanding is you've met with the mayor-elect to talk about the future of the school system. How did the discussion go, and are your visions of where the school system should go aligned?
We had a great conversation about all things education. So from safety to raising achievement scores and proficiency levels in math and reading, to talking about really important topics like Every Child and Family is Known, an initiative that we launched earlier this year to support students in temporary housing and ensure that that connectivity is there for families and city resources. And so I was thrilled to know that he was in favor of that expansion. So we discussed a lot.
Okay. Now, one of the things that is striking about this, we covered the campaign extensively. He's talked about universal child care. I imagine that would have to involve the school system as far as even just training caregivers and teachers and creating the right connection when some kids from early education make it up to pre-K and kindergarten and so forth. Are you involved in those kind of discussions?
Absolutely. And, I'm so glad that you brought it up because we talk a lot about daycare versus early childhood education. And, my Deputy Chancellor, Simone Hawkins, she has really been talking about the difference. And we want to make sure that we are supporting our CBOs, our caregivers, so that they are more than just babysitters. They are educators, and they are priming our young people for academic excellence as early as birth, right? And so they need that support. They're hungry to do that work. They're already doing that work. And so thinking about ways that we can further support that is always exciting for us.
You've got so many different stakeholders that you're answering to. How often do you meet with Mayor Adams?
Well, I meet with Mayor Adams frequently and on an as-needed basis, and his lines of communication are quite open, and so he'll call me and tell me something's on my mind about when it comes to education and what say you, and we have a lot of productive conversations around many topics.
No, I mean, one reason I ask that is that I've noticed in talking with educators that some of the things that we put in the headlines around gifted and talented programs or the specialized high schools are actually a relatively small part of the job, or actually a relatively small percentage even of the student body. But that when I talk to real educators, their central challenge I keep hearing about is how do we close the achievement gap? How do we make sure that Black and brown kids, that all kids are reading at grade level early on by like third grade? How is that portion of your job going, and are there any strategies you're especially excited about?
I'm really excited about the opportunity to bring my background as a teacher and a principal into this role. As you mentioned, I think a lot of the job, we focus on the political aspect of it, but in the end, I'm a super teacher and a former principal, and I get to go into classrooms and have conversations with teachers and principals about pedagogy and curriculum and instruction and the implementation of New York City Reads and New York City Solves. Something I did as soon as I was announced, I went to visit a campus where New York City Solves was not doing so well. And I met with chapter leaders from the UFT, and I met with teachers, and we made adjustments on pacing and modification. And that's the kind of work that needs to happen with any chancellor in the seat. And so what we're really addressing is an opportunity gap, not an achievement gap. Because as the scores indicated, when teachers and students are given the right resources, then we see those test scores go up. Namely, our Black and brown students, our Black children showed more growth than any other student population, and our Latinx students were right behind. And so even though less than 50% of them are still reading and doing math at proficient levels, they showed the most gains in one particular year.
And what made that happen?
Well, a number of things. One is New York City Reads and Solves standardized curricula across the districts. And so New York City Reads, this was the second year, and we made sure that every single K-5 school was doing one of 3 curricula. And so we were able to go in and give targeted professional learning, which was more shoulder-to-shoulder job-embedded support as opposed to someone talking at you in the front of the room and telling you what teaching looks like. They were actually modeling. And it's very easy for us from Central to insert ourselves and support at the intervention level when everyone's doing one of the same 3 curricula.
Interesting. The state's class size law requires smaller class sizes, and I think for the upcoming year, 20 to 25 students in 80% of all classrooms. Are we on track to reach that?
You know, we are working hard every single day with our union partners and with advocates to meet that mark. We obviously were in compliance this past year, and yes, some exemptions were a part of meeting that compliance. Most recently, I committed to reopening the working group on class size, because there are always some ways that we can always address it, and some people called for a pause. I did not think that we needed to call for a pause when we could simply continue with being compliant with the law and still have a shared agenda around prospective changes that can be amended to the law. And so I voiced that, and I think doing that work in advance of a legislative session in Albany gives us an opportunity to make suggested changes.
Shale Polikow-Saransky, the president of Bank Street College, former deputy chancellor,
yes.
he has floated the idea of full-year apprenticeships for junior teachers so that there'd be 2 instructors in almost every classroom. Is that a good idea, do you think?
It's a great idea. And actually, prior to his amazing op-ed, I sat on a panel with him where he discussed that. And I jumped in emphatically saying, yes, this would be amazing. You know, New York City Teaching Fellows and Teach for America are 2 opportunities where people can actually start teaching while they're learning how to teach and getting their credentials. And it's been met with some criticism. I was a New York City Teaching Fellow. I turned out okay. And yet the traditional route, while of course we appreciate teachers going in through the traditional route, many people cannot afford to take an unpaid internship, right? And so this is a phenomenal idea, especially if we're thinking about growing our own, which is something that Mayoral Mamdani has talked about, and I'm excited to explore that.
There are a number of students in the public system that have been targeted by federal immigration authorities. Has it been disruptive? How are you managing that?
Well, I continue to do the work of Project Open Arms, which I launched myself in 2022, and I'm so proud of the team, the work that they've continued. But really, the secret to our success is making sure that we stay connected with families, with advocates, with elected officials. New York Immigration Coalition has been a phenomenal support to us. Project Rousseau, La Victoria, these are organizations that help us connect representation with families, help us to help the families navigate certain situations. Of course, there is fear, and that is something that we cannot downplay. It is a real thing. And so working with our families to assure them that schools are safe spaces is really critical in this moment.
And how is the cell phone ban going? Locking up cell phones?
It's going well, just like we thought it would. Over 50% of our schools were already restricting cell phone use in some way. What was important to me is that we did not have a one-size-fits-all approach. When we're mandating across the system like New York City Public Schools, you know, it's different flavors and spaces all over the place.
What works best? Because I keep hearing, you know, there's like the pouch that you take from them, or there's
it depends
you put it
on
in
the
locker.
school. So there are some schools, like when I was a principal, I had a school of only 380 kids. So I collected cell phones, but one time I had to evacuate and I had to give 380 cell phones back to kids, and that could be challenging. Now imagine that in a school of 3,000, 4,000 kids. So for some, it's the pouch. For some, it's collecting and putting them in lockers. It just depends on the school.
Okay, very good. Before I let you go, what one thing do you want people to remember? I mean, you've had basically a solid year now as chancellor.
Yes. I started in October. I want people to remember that I am, first and foremost, a parent in the system. And so for me, it was important to be the advocate for parents, having my own experience as a parent in New York City Public Schools.
Is that a first? I don't remember any chancellor.
I don't know. I don't quote any first, but I know my kid is in middle school and she's with me right now.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much. Best of luck with the remainder of the year. Let's take a short break now. When we come back, we will turn back to the mayoral transition when I'm joined by 2 top political consultants. Stay with us.
In Focus with Cheryl Wills, a weekly show discussing decisions and potential solutions for issues making an impact in your community and your city. If it's important to New Yorkers, then it's being talked about here. In Focus with Cheryl Wills, Sunday mornings at 10:30 on New York One.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. so you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We just spoke with Schools Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos about the Mamdani administration's educational agenda and her talks with the mayor-elect about whether or not she'll stay on to continue to lead the school system. Joining me now to talk about that and much more are the members of this week's Consultants Corner. J.C. Polanco is a longtime political analyst and attorney. He's also an assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent. Also joining us is longtime Democratic consultant Lupe Todd Medina. Thank you both for being here. Good to see both of you.
Thank you.
What do you make of the chancellor's chances, I guess would be the way I'd put it?
Well, I think her chances are very good. You know, I think we have to also remember there are still some people that are interim in this administration. They were not loyalists necessarily to Mayor Adams. And you have some that are sitting in the interim position, just like the health commissioner. Mm-hmm. She's never been fully been titled the commissioner. She's been the interim, and she is a holdover actually from the de Blasio administration. So there are still some people within this administration that were not loyalists to Adams that he might want to keep.
That was a great interview.
Thank you.
You know, you have to consider the fact that during the campaign, education didn't get a lot of coverage. In your debate, it came up, but not too much. So it's a breath of fresh air to hear what's happening behind the scenes for our students. You know, I'm a dad of someone who's in our New York City public school system, so this decision matters. One of the biggest complaints of those that didn't support Mayor Mamdani was that he was inexperienced. What better way to really show the city that you're ready to lead than to keep some experienced folks around you? And I think he's doing a good job so far with keeping the Commissioner Tisch. Maybe a good idea to keep the chancellor at least halfway through. You know, you're talking about halfway through the school year. Maybe a good idea considering all the plans that she shared with you that she's working on. I think it'd be a feather in the cap for him to do so.
Yeah. And as far as I can remember, first chancellor with a kid who's in the system at the same time. I just don't remember ever seeing that.
And the first Latina chancellor, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal on a lot of different levels. Well, we'll see what they do. Mayor-elect Mamdani did a 12-hour listening session with members of the public over the weekend. What is the political value of that? I mean, he's already won. Right?
Oh, no, I think that was a great idea. You want to hear directly from the public. You want to know what they want to see with the next administration. You want to know what they feel are issues that maybe didn't come up even during the election. So I think that's a great idea that you do that. I do love seeing that. I know, you know, I've done work with Congressman Jeffries, and when he was in the assembly, he started something similar to that. He did this kind of, you know...
You go, Congressman on your corner?
Well, now it's called Congressman on your corner, but when he was in the assembly, he was at the subways, right? It was somewhere at the subways, right? It's the same thing. It's like catching people where they're at.
Yes.
and having them come up to you and tell you what is important to them. I think it's a fantastic idea.
It's a great idea. It's like a town hall, right? It's like a town hall before you go in. I think it's strategic. I think let's prolong this honeymoon just a little longer. And I think he's ingratiating himself to the community and to the press by being open before he even comes into office.
Yeah, January 2nd, people are going to be coming with complaints. They're going to show up at those meetings with a shopping bag full of receipts and a complicated story and a bunch of needs that they expect the mayor to handle for them. Last week, Brad Lander officially launched his campaign for Congress. There's going to be a Democratic primary fight against Dan Goldman. He rolled out endorsements from Mayoral Mamdani and Bernie Sanders. What are the substantive differences between those candidates? What is that candidacy about, do you think?
Well, I don't know what the candidacy is about because there isn't that much daylight between the two of them. I mean, I did watch the announcement video, and I kind of, when I finished watching it, I kind of was left with, but why? You know, why are you running against Dan Goldman? If the answer is only because you feel as though he's not strong enough against Trump, I don't think that's
he was the lead counsel for the first impeachment of Trump.
That's why I don't understand. Tough. He's also somebody that supports Medicaid for all. Like, he's a very left already, so I don't know what the...
Look, the truth is, and I mentioned this before, he did not bend at the altar. He did not go on his knees and bend at the altar of the cult of Mamdani. That's what it is. There's no other reason on this green earth why Congresswoman Goldman is getting a primary other than he did not support Mayor-elect Mamdani. Full stop. We see a lot of those folks across the city getting primaries. There's one thing they all have in common. They did not support the mayor when he ran for mayor in the primary, and many of them in the general. The truth is that you're not going to find someone as tough on President Trump than Congressman Goldman. And this is the last thing that Minority Leader Jeffries needs. He wants to become speaker. He wants to have a very large margin. The last thing he needs is dealing with primaries from people on the left that are going to take up a lot of money, time, and resources that should be devoted at picking up Republican seats across the country. He doesn't need this mess, and this is just hurting Democrats nationally.
Well, if you're right, and this is a referendum on whether or not you were with Mamdani at the right time or early enough and so forth and so on, that's how politicians think. That's how insiders think, special interests and so forth. But the average voters, I mean, there's 700,000 people in that district. I dare say most of them are probably thinking about something other than who did the candidate endorse 6 months ago.
Yeah, I think, though, the issue with not just the Goldman race, but like you're talking about, the races are kind of across the city. I don't think it's just that they didn't endorse Mamdani. It's that they're not DSA or they're not DSA adjacent. I think it's more that issue. And if that is your argument as to why you're running against some of these Congress people that are very good, like a Dan Goldman, that's just not a good enough reason, and I do think that the voters will take. I
think the voters will be mystified. At least. Well, the campaign will have to be much more clear about what is it about this person that means they have to be fired.
But you mentioned something interesting. Voters don't care about that stuff. That's insider baseball. But that insider baseball are the reasons why you got those endorsements you just listed. Those are the endorsements matter, especially in districts where a mayor-elect Mamdani did very well in the primary. So this is all about insider baseball, and that's going to manifest itself during the campaign, and we're going to see it play out.
Okay, let's take a short break. I've got more to talk about with these consultants. We'll do that in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month, as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
I don't really spend a lot of time focused on this campaign of retribution. I've got a lot of work on my hands. Standing up and defending the rights of New Yorkers, protecting them from harms coming from Washington, D.C. I've got a team of attorneys and attorneys who contact me all over the nation, willing to represent me pro bono. They're taking care of that. I've got a job to do. I'm focused on serving as the Attorney General of the great state of New York.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where I am once again joined by my Consultants Corner, political analyst J.C. Polanco, Democratic consultant Lupe Todd Medina. And so, Counselor, you saw the Attorney General 3 up and 3 down. 3 times they've tried to criminally indict her. 3 times, in 2 of the cases, the grand jury just said no. Is this tactic losing its power? I mean, it used to be a big deal to be indicted by the federal government. I guess it still is for most of us. She doesn't look too worried at this point, though.
Well, she shouldn't be worried at this point. I think the whole country sees what's happening. This is retribution, and you have impaneled a grand jury that has rejected the attempt to indict the Attorney General from New York. You had it when you had a rubber stamp in the prior attorney that you had appointed to that office that has never touched a criminal case before in her life because she had no idea what she was doing. And when you studied what indictment came before the grand jury, it was far from what actually transpired. So it's a shame. I would warn any attorney taking this case, you have an ethical obligation not to go ahead in front of that grand jury and present this silly nonsense. This is obviously political retribution to the very end. I will volunteer my time, Attorney General James, if you need. Give me
another volunteer.
You got me. You need. This is ridiculous.
And I imagine as she attempts to run for re-election next year, this will not harm her in any way and perhaps even help her.
Probably help her. Yeah. It's certainly within the Black community, particularly Black women who are just like, you know, in the position of the Attorney General, where they are helping other family members. Like, as they have become successful, they're helping their family and lifting their family up with them. They understand what's going on here. It's very common in the Black community and the Latino community. It's like when one gets a success, everybody like lives off that success. And so if anything, it's going to endear her to more people. It's not going to harm her.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Republican primary for governor. That seems to be, I guess, we got at least 2 entrants. There might be more. Bruce Blakeman is in the race, although apparently he was told not to get into the race. Elise Stefanik has already declared, and in fact is being backed by Ed Cox. I think the chair of the state party endorsed her the day after she announced. Both of these candidates are allies of President Trump, so I expect he's going to probably wait. But how's this going to play out?
Look, Republicans hate primaries. I was there for 2 decades. Trust me when I tell you, they don't want it. It costs too much money. It divides the party. When you look at party registration, although there's been a little bump, you still have Democrats at the lead, then independents like me are number 2, and then Republicans number 3. They need all the resources they can get. A primary is going to waste those resources. I don't think you're going to see a primary. I can tell you this. You have a rock star in Congresswoman Stefanik with MAGA base. They love her because she stood up for President Trump, and we know how important President Trump is to the base, especially in a primary in New York. And then you have County Executive Blakeman. Look, Nassau County is a Democratic county. He's able to win re-election with large numbers of Latinos and African Americans and independents and Democrats. So he's saying, I have executive experience, I know how to lead, and I get crossover appeal. Why shouldn't I be a candidate for governor? And he's making a run for it. I think he's a serious candidate, but I don't think there will be a primary. There's just no way that you can beat up on each other and then come into November and say, vote for me.
Well, how do you avoid a primary?
You avoid a primary at the end of the day with poll numbers and with the president asking you not to do it. The president is that popular because if the president says, I endorse, you've seen this before, I endorse X wholly because of A, B, and C, the party base.
Yeah, but you're not going to see that because he's already come out and has said positive things about both of them.
But he said positive things about Mayor-elect Mamdani, too. Come on, he does positive things.
Look, I think Blakeman, if it'd be foolish for the Republican Party to not look at Blakeman. Blakeman, not only do I think he is a better candidate, but he's also a pro-choice, he's not pro-choice. No, he is pro-choice.
He is pro-choice.
He's a pro-choice Republican,
yeah.
Right? That is going to play well, especially when you're talking about the independents. Yeah. You know, I think it'd be a fool to not look at Blakeman. And I think Stefanik, you might think that she's a rock star with the MAGA people, but that's
they do like her. They
that's the only group that she has.
But that group runs primaries across New York. So I think that she's smart. She's liked a great deal by these guys. You're right about Blakeman. I think Blakeman may right now be a better November candidate, but you got to get through that June primary first.
Well, isn't this a question that the Republican Party in New York has faced for a number of years now, throughout the Trump era, frankly, right? I mean, because you've got a number of other people, you know, Michael Lawler, the congressman, was considering a race, and he had a sort of a profile that was similar to Blakeman's in the sense that he had crossover appeal, he had won a mostly Democratic area, he presents with less of that MAGA snarl, I guess I would call it. he's not always like twisting the knife and then trying to insult people all the time. And he didn't get any support and pulled out of the race.
That's how the Republican Party in New York can't figure that out. You need to have a candidate that has crossover appeal in order to win in November. Democrats figured it out in Kentucky. Democrats have figured it out in Louisiana. You run Democrats in red states that could appeal to red voters. Republicans in New York have to appeal to candidates that could appeal to blue voters.
And so my point is, it should be Stefanik who they have step out, because she will not win. She cannot win. She won't even be a flicker in the general.
I mean, some of the high-profile stuff she did, which I know endeared her to the MAGA base, attacking Harvard University and attacking Columbia University, they have some influence down here in New York City. These Ivy League institutions, and she's, you know, kind of kicking a hornet's nest to a certain extent, right? You'll pick up a lot of votes elsewhere. But then when you get to the general election, it's going to be a really tough.
Trump has even ruined her whole thing about Mamdani. He was like, he's not a jihadist. Like, she can't even use that anymore. Like, she's the one.
There's a lot of time between here and November, and I think that there's a lot of time to moderate on some of these issues, and we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we're only, what, 6.5 months out from the primary, so, you know, got to get ready. Thanks so much for coming by. Great talking with the both of you. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No. Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Live TV and on demand. All together, all in one place for you to enjoy.
It's whatever kind of adventure we want it to be.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth